Welcome back to another deck profile video, everybody. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you my version of the Unstoppable Exodia Carnet deck. I had just gotten this deck completed earlier today. I been wanting to show this deck off since I started building it, but of course you can't show off a deck until it's complete. So without further ado, let's get it started. The first part, of course, is the 5 pieces of Exodia. You need this for the new Unstoppable Exodia Carnet's fusion effect, which is off the new card Millennium Ankh. Not to mention, if you open with this hand, or if you draw into this hand, then you automatically win the duel. Next up is the 3 Millennium Shields, or should I say the Shield of the Millennium Dynasty. This card cannot be destroyed by spell or trap effects. You can only use each of the effects of the Shield of the Millennium Dynasty once per turn. If this card is in your hand, you can place it in the spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous spell. While this card is a continuous spell, you can either pay 2,000 life points or reveal a Millennium Ankh in your hand. Special summon this card, then you can add a Millennium Ankh from your deck to the hand. Next up is the 3 new Sangagen's Wakes from a Millennium, which is odd that we just got the ultra rare reprint in the set before this, only to get an errata the next set over. This one also cannot be destroyed by monster effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Sangagen Wakes from the Millennium once per turn. While this card is in your hand, you can place it in the spell and trap card zone as a continuous spell card. While this card is a continuous spell, you can either pay 2,000 life points or reveal a Millennium Ankh in your hand, special summon this card, then you can add 1 Millennium Monster from your deck to your hand. Next up, I'm playing 2 of the Golem that guards the Millennium Treasures. The activation of your Millennium Ankh cannot be negated. You can only use each of the following effects of Golem that guards the Millennium Treasures once per turn. If this card is in your hand, you can place it in your spell and trap card zone as a continuous spell. While this card is a continuous spell, you can either pay 2,000 life points or reveal 1 Millennium Ankh in your hand, special summon this card, then you can add 1 Waiju Temple from your deck to your hand. There's many ways to get out your field card, not only this, but other cards in my deck. For the only hand traps I'm running in this deck is going to be the Dimension Shifters, because it does not really bother this deck all that well. Especially since if you can activate the Millennium Ankh, any monster that's not a Millennium card or a level 10 or level 9 or lower will be shuffled back into the deck anyways. So that's mainly just to shut off your opponent. For the spell cards, we are running the 3 Millennium Ankhs. Show 5 Forbidden 1 monster cards from your hand, deck, and or face-up field. Then special summon the Unstoppable Exodia Carnet directly from your extra deck. Then shuffle all face-up monster cards you control into the deck except for Exodia monster cards, whose levels are 10 or higher, and Millennium monster cards. Also, you cannot summon for the rest of this turn. After activation, and you can shuffle this card back in the deck instead of sending it to the graveyard. Another reason why Dimension Shifter will not bother this deck, because you can continuously shuffle that back to your deck in hopes that you can draw another one. We are running 3 copies of the Waiju Temple. During your main phase, you can place 1 monster from your hand in your spell and trap zone as a face-up continuous spell, then place 1 Millennium monster from your deck into your spell and trap card zone as a continuous spell. You can only use this effect once per turn. If a face-up Millennium monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can place it in the spell and trap card zone as a continuous spell instead of sending it to the graveyard. Next up, I'm running 1 copy of the Obliterate Blaze. 1 level 10 or higher monster on the field with Exodia in its original name gains this effects. You can pay half your life points to destroy as many cards in the spell and trap card zone as possible. Then equip 5 Forbidden 1 monsters from your hand and or deck to this card as equipped spells that give it each 2,000 attack. Also, it cannot activate other card effects for the rest of this turn, or if this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. Next up, we run 1 Terraforming. I only run this because sometimes you're not going to open with the Field Center, you're not going to open up with the Golem. So if you open up with Terraforming, you're at least lucky to get the Waiju Temple from your deck to your hand. Next up is 3 Pot of Prosperities. I was going to resolve into running 3 Triple Tactics Talents instead, because this is actually a Super Poly deck as well. But for the most part, you definitely want to get your main monster out without having to rely too much on Super Poly targets, especially since this is considered to be an OTK deck. Next up, we do run the 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Discard 1 card, fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from either field, add some fusion materials, and neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. Which is actually pretty good against a lot of decks, especially people who run like any kind of meta deck that involves one attribute or the same type of type of monsters. Next up, we run 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. Reason for that is this an easy way to get your Millennium Ankh in the field, or you can get out your Instant Fusion, your Terraforming. It's the best thing to have in your deck whenever you're trying to search if you don't have the cards you need. Next up is I play 1 Instant Fusion for only 1 monster in the entire deck, and by paying 1,000 life points, you can special summon 1 level 5 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, but it cannot attack. Also, it is destroyed during the end phase. This is treated as a fusion summon. You can only activate 1 instant fusion per turn. Then I run 1 Call by the Grave, because even though I'm not running many hand traps, a lot of people are, so it's always best to run this just in case if you have to stop an Ash Blossom, Dimension Shifter, or Effect Failure, or anything like that. Next up, we play the trap cards, Exodia, Fires of Rage. I run 2. I was going to run Obliterate, but this is basically the same thing. This card is always treated as an Exodia and Obliterate card. If you control a level 10 or higher Exodia monster, destroy all cards your opponent controls. If this card is sent to your graveyard, except this turn it was sent there, you can banish it, then activate one of these following effects. Add 1 Forbidden 1 monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, or shuffle up to 5 Exodia 1 monsters from your graveyard and or banishment into the deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. Now, for my own personal spice, I decided to run Meta Reflect Slime. You can special summon this card in defense position as an effect monster, which is an Aqua Water, level 10, 0 attack, 3000 defense. This card is still treated as a trap card, but special summon this way, this card cannot attack. And then, to shut off anything the opponent might also do, to run with the Dimension Shifters, 3 Skill Drains. Activate this card by paying 1,000 life points. Negate the effects of all face-up monsters while they are face-up on the field, but their effects can still be activated. So yes, their effects can activate, but they will be negated because of the effect of Skill Drain. Except when it comes to these Millennium monsters, where effects will resolve by being moved from the spell and trap card zone to the monster zone. So this is good to shut off the opponent. That's it for the main deck. On to the extra deck. I'm running 3 copies of the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. It takes 5 Forbidden 1 monsters to fusion summon. It cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effects. Once per turn, if this card battles during the damage calculation, you can make this card gain the attack equal to your life points. Once per turn, when a spell or trap card is activated, quick effect, negate the activation. And once per turn during the end phase, you can set 1 Exodia or Obliterate spell or trap from your deck face down. Once per turn during the standby phase, you will lose 1,000 life points though. But it's okay, because even if you don't have to sacrifice any life points to get this card out, and if you're going second, this is a good way to just beat over the deck. Beat over the opponent's monsters. Unfortunately, when you do get this out, though, you cannot summon anything else, and if you have anything that's not an Exodia card or a Millennium card on the field, then they get shuffled back into the deck. But most of the time, you're going to win with this anyways. Next up, I play the Egyptian God Slime to go with the Meta Reflect Slime, because it says must be either fusion summoned or special summoned from your extra deck by attributing 1 level 10 Aqua monster with 0 attack. And this card can be treated as a 1 or 3 tributes for the tributed summon of that monster. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Your opponent's monsters cannot target for attacks, and your opponent's monster cannot target with card effects any other monsters you control except for this card. So upon just being a 3,000 attack point monster, he also protects the rest of your monsters from being destroyed, which is good whenever Exodia's attack is at 0, or any of your other lower monsters that cannot be that can easily be beaten over. Next up, the one fusion instant fusion target, which is Millenniumize Restrict. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard, equip that card to this card you control. This card gains the attack and defense equal to that equipped monster. Monsters that are equipped monsters with equipped monsters original name cannot attack. Also, their effects are negated. So that's actually pretty good. I know it gets destroyed at the end of the turn, but at the same time, you can steal a monster from your opponent if he activates an effect. And then you can also use it as a link off. So then he'll lose that monster, and then you'll gain a monster that won't be destroyed at the end of the turn. Next up is Super Poly targets, one Garura, Wings of Resonant Life. This is for drawing if it gets sent to the graveyard. Also, it's a card that comes in handy against a lot of meta decks today, which is two monsters with the same type and attribute but different names. One Mud Dragon of the Swamp, which has the protection to protect itself from being destroyed by card effects. And once per turn, you can declare one attribute. This card becomes that attribute until the end of this turn. And then one Predator Plant Dragocepelia, which will shut off a lot of people because it has an Omni-Negate ability. Well, actually, no. I think it's just a monster negate ability. Yeah. And then it becomes monster will become a level 1, which is good against people who played rogue decks that involve 2 level 4s or 2 level 6s or anything that involves XYZ summoning. So that helps pretty well. Now on to the Link monsters. I run 0 Link 1 monsters. I start off with the IP Masquerada, which has the effect of during your opponent's turn. Quick effect, you can immediately after this effect resolves, link summon one link monster using materials you control, including this card. You can only use that effect once per turn, and if a link monster that is used as card material cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. This will come in handy because of the new card, the Silhouette Rabbit. And this is the card that will help you get out the Metal Reflect Slime because of its effect. If this card battles a monster, neither can be destroyed by that battle. You can only use each effect of the following effects of the Silhouette Rabbit once per turn. If this card is link summoned, you can set one continuous trap from your deck with an effect that special summons itself as a monster. Also, this card cannot be used as link material during this turn. If a card in the spell or trap card zone is special summoned from the monster zone, except during a damage step, you can target one spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it. So it takes out back row, and it's also protected from being destroyed by battle. Next up is one Nightmare Phoenix. With this card's link summon, you can discard one card, then target one spell or trap your opponent controls and destroy it. And if it's co-linked, you can also draw a card. And you can only use each effect once per turn. Co-linked monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. Next up is the Link 3 monster, Nightmare Unicorn. This card has the effect that if this card is link summoned, you can discard one card, target one card on the field, and shuffle it back into the deck. Then if this card was co-linked, then you can also draw a card. It also has the effect that if you let's see. For a normal draw on your main phase, draw one card for each different card name among these co-linked Nightmare monsters instead of drawing just one card. Now for the Link 4s, run one Appaloosa, which has the effect that it gains attack equal to the number of Link material you use times 800. And then it has the Omni-Negate ability to shut off card effects, but it will lose 800 attack for every effect you negate, which is still a pretty good card. It's pretty much one of the only Omni-Negate monsters that are left, so everybody's running that now. And then lastly, one Axis Code Talker for the Link materials, which has the ability that when this card is Link summoned, you can target one Link monster in your graveyard. And then this card gains the attack equal to that monster's Link by 1,000. And also, the effects cannot be negated, so you can activate the effect to banish one lake monster you control, one lake monster in your graveyard, and then send one card from the field to the graveyard, which is a very good and powerful card when it comes to having high attack. And it also cannot be shut down by Imperm or anything else by that manner unless it's before the activation of its effects. And lastly, for the extra deck, one XC material, which of course is Typhon, has the effect that you can, if your opponent special summons during the turn or turn after your opponent special summons two or more monsters from the extra deck, you can also XYZ summon this card using one monster you control with the highest attack. Your choice of Tide. This is the negate ability to shut off a lot of 3,000 attack monsters, including Nibiru, which is very highly played in today's meta. And also, once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, return one monster from the field to the hand. Well, that's it for the main deck and the extra deck. I hope you guys enjoyed this build as much as I did, and I cannot wait to play this at my locals very soon. Until then, I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and please like and comment and subscribe if you like this video.